am proud to be a tech fellow with Smurfit WestRock. Smurfit WestRock is a global consumer packaging and paper company with about 600 factories around the world. My friend Jenny asked me before I came up if I was nervous. I said, no, I'm not nervous because I'm amongst friends. I see a lot of friends that I've known for many years. Everything that I learned from somebody else. And to pay tribute and out of respect for those that have taught me so much in the last 8 years in XR, I have a big heart for paying it forward and helping others. So I wanted to just talk today for about the next maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, about a call that I get fairly often. Now I get a call fairly often that sounds like this. Hey, Scott, you were recommended to someone that could maybe give me some advice. I've been tasked with putting AR or VR in my factories or in my company, in my enterprise. I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm an accountant, I'm a, classical pianist, and I have no idea what I'm doing. What do I do? Where do I start? I get this call not because I know a lot. I get this call because I have a heart and I hope a reputation for being someone that helps other people. So again, like I said, everything that I know, I learned from someone else, and if anything, I'm not particularly smart or good looking, but I am very grateful, and I have a lot of gratitude for people that have taught me along the way. So let's begin. First image. So I wanted to create an image to kind of illustrate this initial thought that I have is that when you're starting off, and let's just do this. If you're starting off in XR, welcome. It's a wonderful field, wonderful technologies, a lot of value that can be realized in the business through the use of extended reality. Does anyone, if you're brave enough, does anyone here identify as a newbie in XR? Just starting off, anyone, a couple of hands, great. So what I want to do is I want to talk through what I said 3 weeks ago to these two guys from aerospace that called me and said, we have no idea what to do. Where do we start? And I just wanted to share with you nice folks that conversation, how that goes, right? And so my friend Austin's in here. Austin, you can appreciate this. That big scary dragon at the back, that's your corporate IT right there. The one with the wings up front, that's your security department, right? And I don't know what the pumpkins are, but I couldn't get AI to take them out. So I just wanted to illustrate that, right, that when you're starting off on this journey, it can seem daunting. It can seem intimidating. You may feel like you have this imposter syndrome or this fear of failure, like, how am I going to go put spatial computing solutions into rugged industrial environments, right? I think it's important when you start off to keep a few things in mind, and this is what I tell people all the time. I organize a community called XR at Work, and we'll talk more about that. But XR at Work exists for one purpose, and that is to share encouragement and support and education about XR for enterprise with other practitioners. There are a lot of super smart headset manufacturers and software developers down in the trade show this week. You should talk to every single one of them. But when I started out, I got all of my advice from headset manufacturers and from software developers. And guess what they told me to do? Buy their headsets and buy their software. I'm a big believer. I'm looking at my buddy Andy is here nodding his head, right? I'm the person that will tell you, I've tried all of these. For your situation, here's where I might steer you, right? Not because I stand to make money from them, but because I want to see you succeed. I want to see the advancement of XR in enterprise. When you're starting off, there's a few things that I always tell people you need to keep in mind. And somebody told me I need to put some text on here to not just be a total goofball. So number one, and I can't read it on my screen, have a plan. Number two, what does it say? Oh, look at that. Thank you. They enlarged it. Identify a pain point. We're going to talk more about that, right? I used to go into factories with WestRock, and I used to bring in all the cool toys, and everyone would just get all goofy about this stuff, and they wanted all kind of stuff, and we never identified a pain point. We never identified a use case. And the technology that I left with them was never used, and I would go back and pick it up 6 months later and dust it off and recharge it and go put it somewhere else. It's important to have a plan, no matter how rudimentary it is. Call your shot, say what you want to try and do, make it simple, and then go into a factory and identify a pain point. Super important. You've heard this all day today from much smarter people than me. You're going to have to be flexible because guess what? That headset manufacturer is going to go under. That software company is going to get bought or go bankrupt. People on your team are going to quit or get fired or hopefully not take your job. But there's going to be all kinds of changes that are going to happen outside and inside of your company. You're going to have to be flexible. Things are going to change. And that's why you're staying plugged into people like in this room. Seek counsel. This is probably the best piece of advice I could give any of you, especially if you're starting off. Seek counsel. My mentor, Dr. Brian Laughlin, is in the room, and Brian has taught me more about myself and about this technology in the last couple of years than I could get into in this talk. And I'll tell you, I value wise counsel from others when I'm going into an area where I need help, where I need some guidance, where I need some advice. And so I want to say thank you to the people that have poured into me. Seek counsel, have a network, super important. What's my last one? I don't even remember because I get all teary-eyed talking about Brian. Take small steps, measure and refine. I think it's important. You know, I tell my kids this when they're driving. There's a reason why that steering wheel moves, right? And why you have to move it constantly. You've got to be flexible. You've got to be able to adjust. You've got to be able to put action into place, stop, take a look, get honest feedback, have people that will risk your anger and tell you if your stuff sucks, right? And tell you where you need to adjust. And those need to be people that can help you through their honesty with trying to correct your course. Measure what you're doing. They just talked about it in the last panel. You got to have some sort of measurement. You got to know what you're trying to impact as far as mean time to repair, mean time to recover, those sorts of things. It's important. And be willing to refine. If you think you're going to go put your first XR project out in a factory or oil and gas or healthcare, and it is going to just flourish like a garden and survive all the storms for the next 10 years, you are sadly mistaken, my friend. And that's okay because we learn through adversity and through difficult times. I never learned anything when things were going well. I learn when things fail. If I'm smart, I learn when things fail. Have a plan. This is an actual picture from one of our paper mills at Smurfit WestRock, and I do have permission from every one of these people to show this picture. I wanted to dig in a little bit and talk about when you're out looking for the pain points, because you're not leading with toys, you're not leading with devices, you're going out and finding pain points to address. Some of the things that I heard when I left the devices in the rental car trunk and went in and sat down and talked to frontline manufacturing workers, mill workers, factory people, maintenance people. Some of the things that I heard when I opened up my ears and listened were things like, when Matt's gone, nobody knows how to run that machine. When Frank's not here, nobody knows how to fix that machine. When this machine goes down in the middle of the night, we don't have a way to call someone to get help. When this machine goes down, we have to wait 3 to 5 business days for the OEM to come in to show us we accidentally flipped the switch off, right? These are sorts of things that you hear if you actually listen out in your factories, out in industrial environments. And I would challenge you to listen first before you start pulling out devices from the rental car. It's important. In an urgent situation, we don't know how to turn off the water inlet where the water comes into our mill from the river. There are times when you've got to be able to do something, and the guy that did that last time, 7.5 years ago, he's retired, right? He's down in the coast fishing, and you don't know how to do this because it hasn't happened since you've worked there. XR can address some of these pains, but we start off with the pain point first, okay? So a lot of real-world stuff that's happening. By the way, Christian, are you in the audience today? No, I don't think. So one of the guys there in that picture there, a guy named Christian who's here, been in the industry with me for several years, and I want to give him a shout out. I think it's important that you start with the pain points. There's going to be a lot of paths you can go down. There's a lot of things that you can do, right? One of the things, like Brad said, I used to deliver live NBA games into virtual reality before I came to Smurfit WestRock. It's cool. I mean, I got to go to a lot of basketball games, we got to put Shaq in the volumetric capture chamber and put him in a Magic Leap and did a lot of neat stuff. But I felt a little bit constrained there because it was 2 games a week into VR over and over and over again for the whole season. When I came to at the time it was WestRock, when I came to the company, I found that there's so many options and so many opportunities and so many wonderful things that I can do. It's not just VR, it's AR and it's digital twins and it's reality capture, and there's all these different things that you can do. Maybe you're kind of deer in the headlights and stuff. Where do we start? Like these 2 guys that called me a couple of weeks ago. Where do I start? What do I start with? There's a lot of things that you can do to start off very simply to kind of test the waters and to kind of dip your toe into the waters of XR. If you're just starting off, I would challenge you to consider what I believe to be some simpler, more low-cost ways to enter into the space. I'm a big believer in 360 photogrammetry, right? So a 360 tour. We've all seen 360 tours of homes on Zillow, right? You can go with a $300 camera and a tripod and a little bit of software. You can go create a 360 tour of your facility. And now you have something that can be used by sales and marketing. It can be used by safety. It can be used by your trainers. It can be used by the person who trains new hires. They can now walk through on a big screen the factory and talk about where the exits are, where the e-stops are, where the emergency controls are, before they take that group out on the floor and nobody can hear each other talk. They can't hear it in my factories, maybe in yours as well, right? So 360 is a simple way for you to do some simple panoramic photographs, stitch them together, do a tour. Now you have an asset that can be used by a lot of different people in the company. It's simple. You start putting labels on machines in post-production, right, and dropping names of machines. Now you start to create some training. A lot of software will have a little feature where you can turn a quiz on. You can ask questions. You can have a new hire take a quiz and get their score before they go out on the floor. Very simple way for very low cost to create some assets. Is it really augmented or virtual reality? Not really, but you could consume it in a VR headset, and then we got that base covered. Then you're a rock star. Remote assist is the first thing that I put in place at WestRock about 5.5 years ago. I figured if I could get the ability for a new factory worker at 3 a.m. with a down machine to be able to instantly call someone, have them see through his camera that he's holding or wearing, and help him with annotations to get the machine back up, that might be a good place to start. And I did that in 2019, and I'm certainly not a prophet or any, nothing prophetic there, but come to find out what happened a year later, I really need remote assist. I really need a remote assist in my factories because we shut them down during quarantine, access from OEMs and from vendors and external people. And so remote assist is a very simple way to give real-time support to your frontline factory workers at 3 a.m. when that machine is down and they don't know how to fix it, right? Because when you look at the burden rate of that machine, you don't want that thing down for several hours in the middle of the night. Remote assist, 360, these are very simple. I'll also challenge you, take a look when you're downstairs this week. There are several companies down here that provide per module, per person, pay-as-you-go, pay per month, 25 bucks a month for a virtual reality experience. You can put in some headsets for lockout training or for hazard identification or for soft skills training. There's some simple, relatively inexpensive ways you can use virtual reality when you're dipping your toes in the water there. A lot of paths you can go down, but remote assist, 360, simple virtual reality experiences, right? Guided workflows, work instructions on a tablet. These are all simple ways to start off. And I always tell people, start off simple. right? Start with the pain point, meet that pain point with some simple technology that people know how to use. And I think it bears mentioning, we'll get into this in a second, but let's not start with a device that requires its own training to be able to use it in and of itself, right? Let's start off with some devices that are simple. So we've got some simple ways to get started. Now there are some wrong paths. There are some things that I've done that I hope you'll learn from. And I'm looking at Christian's here now. I just had a picture with you a minute ago, Christian. There's just some mistakes that I've made. There's some bad choices you can make. I think a bad choice that has been made lately was what happened with Jane's Addiction. So any Jane's Addiction fans in the audience? No? All right. All right, yeah, another old guy. All right, thanks. Appreciate that. So, when you're doing your reunion tour, punching your guitarist that you've known for 40 years is probably not a good choice, right? A lot of bad choices that have been made over the years. Some of these that I've made, right? I'm going to encourage you not to put devices out in your first tranche with new users that require their own training. I love the HoloLens 2. I'm sorry, I just do. But the HoloLens 2 is not for every situation, and it requires some ramp up there of its own to be able to use, right? Certainly more complex than a tablet. Deploying 300 devices at once, maybe not what you want to do on your first tranche unless you are some, Accenture or Walmart or doing something, you got some major horsepower. If you're like me and you just want to go put XR into your first factory, I'm going to challenge you to not go and put 300 devices out there. Vendor-led solutions, here's what I mean by that. Taking again, like we said in the last panel, taking a square peg and trying to force it into a round hole. Taking a headset that you buy and some software that you buy and going to try and apply it to the wrong use case, the wrong problem, right? Because you like the vendor, because they got a cool name or a cool logo, or they take you out to lunch, right? All wonderful things that happen, not how you want to make your initial technology decisions based on vendors you like, right? Let's meet that pain point with the right technology. Setting some crazy goals. I mean, we talked about goals earlier on in this discussion. Don't set some crazy stinking goal that, I'm going to have this done in this many factories in the next 3 to 5 years. We don't know what's going to happen next week in this game, right? This is emerging technology, and it changes. I mean, if you haven't checked your phone in the last 15 minutes, it's changed since you've been in this room, right? I guarantee you somebody has made an announcement, or good or bad. It happens every day. And what I would challenge you is going it alone, being the Lone Ranger, thinking you can do this all on your own because you watch some YouTube videos and your brother-in-law worked for Niantic a couple years ago. That's not going to be the best, I think, strategy for you. Don't go it alone. Have a network. Have friends. Have people that will, again, give you honest, open feedback. So bad decisions in my experience. Ryan Holiday wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. Ryan Holiday lives down in Bastrop, not too far from here. I'm a big study of Stoic philosophy, and if you think about it, the obstacles that get put in your way become the propellant for where and they direct your path, right? You're going to run into obstacles out here in this game, right? I work in corporate IT, and I'm here to tell you that corporate IT may be an obstacle for you, right? Security may be an obstacle. Is corporate IT and security, are they your enemies? No. They become that big rock that directs your path that says you need to do things in a certain manner to keep our company and our assets and our people safe, and you need to procure goods and services in a way that limit our risk and exposure, right? And so corporate IT, security, those are a couple things you're going to run up against. We can talk about this later, but there's several others. Frontline worker objections. Anyone deal with objections out on the front line when you're trying to put XR into place? It's not always the person that you think it's going to be. Sometimes it's going to be the person you just knew they were going to love this technology. You got to be prepared to deal with those objections and get shoulder to shoulder with people and deliver solutions that they can get bought into. Deskless worker objections. Budget constraints. I don't know about you guys, but we're just not made of money, and always got to be a good steward of our company resources. And we don't always have the funds and the resources and the personnel to do a lot of that crazy stuff that so-and-so down the street says they're doing. One of the things about coming to a conference, AES is my favorite conference, Augmented Enterprise Summit, my favorite conference of the year. I've been here 6 years in a row. But it's kind of like going and test driving a new car, and you can't afford it, and so you get back in your old beater Honda and you drive back home, and it's like, man, this thing is a hoopty. Sometimes I feel like that when I leave AES. I'm like, man, you guys are all doing like cool stuff, and we're not really doing that much, VR and for this, and don't let it get you down. You're going to have some constraints. You're going to have some personnel changes, some lack of funds, some things are going to come up. But remember, these are all shaping the path that you're going to take to success, because you can be successful. Lack of stakeholder support is a big one. You're going to have executives are going to say, that's for kids. I heard Jenny say it from the stage this morning. Video games are for kids. My niece and nephew have virtual reality. You're not putting that in my factory. I've heard it all, right? What I'll tell you is overcoming objections. I've never overcome an objection in a factory to using XR while in my basement. I do it with my boots on, shoulder to shoulder, with frontline deskless workers, where we get in the middle of the factory and we talk about objections. That's when we overcome objections, when we come together and work together. I think it's of paramount importance. Like I said, I run a group called XR at Work. We are a group of XR practitioners that come together to share experience and encouragement and support with each other. Last year, this is a picture from us last year, we went to a nursing home, an assisted living facility in Houston, and took VR into the residents of the assisted living facility. And this is a picture before, I think, because afterwards, I guarantee you, we were all bawling, man. It was just so touching to be able to bring technology to an underserved population, right? Senior citizens don't get to go in VR a whole lot. I would always encourage you to stay positive, keep it simple, use your network. If you're not plugged into XR at Work, I'd love to talk to you after this talk and see how you can get plugged in. We have a monthly call. We get together and go out to dinner. We have a Slack channel, and a group of XR practitioners is available to give you advice and tell you their experience every day of the week, except on Saturday and Sunday. That's not every day, is it? But even if you reach out to me on Saturday or Sunday, I'll talk to you. I wanted to leave you with all of my faith and belief that you can have a positive impact on your business through extended reality technologies. And I wanted to give you some pictures of myself from throughout the years. There's a picture of me before AES. I cut my beard off. There's a picture of me, God, I hope in the future. I did play professional soccer for some fictitious soccer league. And this is me out on my land, yeah, with my hat on. But I do love AI-generated photos. Please check out XR at Work. I want to thank you all. Reach out to me anytime if I can be of service or value to you. And I want to thank Jeff Friedman for allowing me to come up and speak with you today, and I hope to meet many of you after this.